Hey guys, we are live with the Shooter's Mindset, episode 306, with my friend Nick Laufenberg. Wanted to welcome first Greg Cannon, our co host,
Hey everyone.
and the guest of the hour. Nick is here. He is Vortex Nick. Everyone knows him as Vortex Nick. How's it going, Nick?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys?
It's wonderful. We're glad to have you. We are going to talk all things Vortex on this entire show. And I know everybody will have lots of questions because Vortex is a huge supporter of the shooting sports. So, start out with for those of us that are unfamiliar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into shooting, and how you started to work for Vortex.
Well, long story, but well, first of all, my name is Nick Laufenberg. I work for Vortex Optics. I've had a few different jobs there. I originally got into shooting mostly because hunting. I grew up in a very, I guess, pro gun family. Started off hunting rifle. I learned the importance of proper marksmanship at a very young age, thanks to my father. And it became, I guess, a hobby that I wanted to stretch out further, become more and more proficient at. So I started kind of self-teaching the long-range shooting game a little bit more, learning more about ballistics. Over the last probably decade, I've been working kind of self-teaching, and now that I'm in the industry, I have a lot of friends that are more than willing to allow me to bend their ear and get a little bit better insight than I can from most books. I started at Vortex in consumer sales, which is, I guess they wear a lot of hats too. A lot of it is technical support. So people call in with perceived issues with an optic, or maybe they just want to say, hey, I'm going on a hunting trip. What caliber should I buy? A lot of people call for those type of reasons. Um, I moved from that department to our military and law enforcement sales, and now I am in our part of our dealer sales team where I help with our military and law enforcement team, dealer training. I also run our sponsorship program for both matches and individuals in the long range community.
I will say being able to call and get advice helps. Like, I shot three gun before I did PRS, and they're very different scopes that you need, right? So whenever I
Oh yeah,
started looking into PRS, I remember messaging Gina and I was like, I don't even know like, how much magnification do I need for this? And
yeah.
like, I had no clue what I needed. So it's awesome to be able to call a number and ask someone that shoots, like, hey, what do I need?
Yeah, being able to call and talk to somebody, not just somebody who's reading from a script, but somebody who is well versed and in we have actually quite a few accomplished shooters that work for Vortex. People with a lot of different shooting backgrounds. You might have one guy who shoots competitively precision rifle, PRS type matches. Another guy shoots three gun. Another guy shoots F class. Another guy is a Western hunter. So even if the person that you call doesn't know the answer to your question, they can immediately get you in touch with somebody else on the team who does.
I think that's one of my favorite things about a lot of the companies in the industry is that there's actually real people that really do shoot that
hmm
can give genuine, advice instead of just
Yeah, it's not like
salesman advice. I don't like salesmen very much. So I
Yeah,
like to be able to talk to a fellow shooter about what is
yeah,
genuinely the best thing.
it's not like when you go to the auto parts store and ask for advice, and do you get what year, make, and model again?
right, right. Yeah, no, it's not like that. There's a lot of those the older Vortex commercials. There's one that was one of my favorites before I started working there. It was Jimmy Jordan getting an instant message from a hunter who's out bear hunting and he loses his dope, and so the guy gives him all of his data, his information, and then Jimmy gives him some ballistic info and he takes his bear. Um, and that kind of thing is I don't know if that exact scenarios happened, but similar scenarios have happened. People out on a trip, knock their spotting scope off a mountain. We overnight one to their outfitter so they can get back to their hunt. Just all kinds of stuff like that.
I think if
I
I
still,
knocked my spotting scope off the mountain, I'd cry.
I still think my favorite um, firearms industry customer service helpline was the Barrett story, where the guys are out in the field and running into issues with their gun in the middle of a firefight, and somewhere in the Middle East and called Barrett tech support, and they're walking them through it in the middle of a firefight.
I haven't seen that one. That's good though.
Yeah, I'll find it and send it to you. It was crazy.
I'm just still thinking about my spotting scope going off the side of a mountain, and I'm kind of sick thinking about that. But okay.
Oh, if you see some of the stuff that we've got back from warranties, you just laugh. And there's people that have knocked their spotting scope into the campfire during a hunt. Like I guess house fires. Fires in general are a big one that people don't really think about. But house fires, truck fires, like again, knocking your spotting scope or binoculars into a fire during a hunt. That kind of thing happens. But I mean, even though that's not an issue of the optic company, it's still covered.
I know my very first gap grind in 2017, we had to run up the stairs with our gun, and my mother put me in ballet when I was a small child for a reason, and it was because I was a klutz. So I'm running up the stairs with a borrowed gun with a scope on it, and I fell going up the stairs, and the gun went in between the two steps at K&M, and I thought, I have broken my probably the gun and the optic. The RO just looked at me and was like, give me your gun. And he took the gun and he carried it the rest of the way up, like, you're not allowed to carry your gun up the stairs. He's like, give me your gun. And I'm like, here. And I handed it to him, and he's like, come on.
Yeah, that's good.
But the optic survived amazingly. But yeah.
Hey, good. Speaking of knocking spotting scopes and stuff, Jen has a question. She wants to know if these are covered under warranty.
Yep.
They are.
Yeah. I may or may not have in Wyoming been really hypoxic and about to die from climbing like half a mountain.
Yeah.
And when I put my tripod down, the legs might have not been out all the way. And when I put it down, and the wind was blowing like 500 miles an hour, and the next thing I know, the whole tripod with the glass and with the little holder all went kaboom. And now it's bent. Yeah.
Yep, they're covered.
Right.
All of our, not just our optics, but all of our accessories, tripods, all of that stuff is covered too.
This is after we straightened it.
Oh no.
This is after we tried to straighten it.
That's
so awkward.
Not ideal.
Yep.
So in Wisconsin, my glass was like off center the entire time, but I mean, it worked. I'm rough on my equipment. What can I say? I don't baby it.
Good. You're getting use out of it then.
And speaking of, everybody makes fun of my look. These are Vortex. I love them.
The dainty binos.
The dainty binos. They are apparently no longer made, but that makes them even worth more money, right?
Something like that.
They're amazing. So tell us a little bit about Vortex. How did Vortex get started and become, I mean, they're pretty much a giant now in the industry because I think largely because they support the shooting sports so much, but how did they get their start and become what they are?
Well, you'll have to excuse me if I don't get the story perfect, but the basic background is the folks who started, Dan and Margie Hamilton, they actually owned a chain of, or they had a Wild Birds Unlimited store, and they carried optics, and they have their own brand of optics called Eagle Optics. And from Eagle Optics, I believe they brought a line of optics into their company called Vortex. The line was Vortex. And when we started doing stuff with rifle scopes, that being that we're kind of starting branching out into different directions besides just binoculars, they just caught fire real quick. And being that we've had that warranty for so long, and I like to say that warranty is great. We don't want people to have to use it though. So it's one of those things where it's good to have that peace of mind. But I try not to focus on the warranty as much as our products themselves. That was one of the things I think that kind of started Vortex to grow so fast. I mean, we kind of look at Vortex as far as its beginning around 2002. But we've been in the optics industry for a lot longer than that. Eagle Optics has no longer in existence. Vortex absorbed Eagle Optics, I think it was about 2 years ago now.
That's awesome. I mean, Even 2002 is a long time ago.
Yeah, right now it
Mhm.
is.
I'm thinking back, I'm like, oh man, that's like almost 20 years ago. Ah, it's quite a ways. I think it's
Yeah.
just become a great asset to the community, really.
Mhm.
How was the Barrel Makers Classic? So I've seen you at Barrel Makers and then again at, weren't you in Wyoming?
No, I wasn't in Wyoming this year.
You were not in Wyoming? Why did I think I saw you twice? Hmm, I
No,
guess
I've
it's maybe
had a lot
twice in
of
Wisconsin.
I've had a lot of, I mean, with the COVID stuff messing up my schedule, going to matches and stuff is great, and I try to do as many of them as I can. But the other stuff I do at Vortex also eats into that schedule quite a bit, which is a lot of different weekend projects. And so
Oh, you
this
mean
year I
work
haven't been able
gets
to
in
do,
the way of shooting?
right? I know. I
Oh,
did
Me
the
too.
the Sandstorm, the Rampage, and Barrel Maker Classic this year so far.
Well, I know I saw you there. So how far is Vortex from the match? Like, I wish I had time to run over and see you, and I didn't because of the way my flights were.
It's not near as close as some of the like the barrel companies that everybody got to tour, but we are about 2 to 2.5 hours away, so not terribly far. If you had an extra day and you wanted to travel down that way, you can. I had some of my team shooters come by and take a look at the company. They've never been to HQ, so it was nice having them.
My girl, Allison, I saw her
Yep.
there. She rocked it up there, by the way, while we're speaking of her. Came in ninth overall. That is amazing. She made a lot of grown men cry, I feel like.
so
She beat a lot of them.
she does that quite frequently, and
Yeah.
everybody's just gonna have to learn to deal with it because it's just gonna keep happening. It's gonna happen worse.
She shot in my squad for the second time. I shot with her at the Sandstorm, and I told her at the Sandstorm, I said, you're going to kick my ass, and don't feel bad about it. Just go ahead and do what you do. And when I saw her and her mom and dad at the Barrel Maker this year, I basically told her the same thing. I said, just do what you did last time. And of course, she killed it. Her and her father are great shooters, and watching Allison just how natural she is behind a rifle is it's something to be somewhat mesmerized at. It's impressive.
She's just like, I'm going to do what I do.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, she definitely does her own thing, and she does it well. I mean, there'll be people that have been in this game for 10 years walk up to her and try to help her out with a wind call, and she'll just be like, no, I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah,
I got
she's
it.
like, I got it.
And she'll clean the stage.
She does, totally.
Cool. So speaking about Vortex HQ, I hear there's all sorts of awesome stuff there. Like you guys have like indoor ranges and everything.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a very large indoor range. We have a 100-yard, 50-yard, 25-yard, a basic kind of test range where we don't even have targets there. It's just to unload ammo through automatic weapons so that we can test recoiling. We also have a full shoot house with a catwalk and a simulation room that is almost 360 around you.
That'd be cool.
Oh, it's real cool. And then we have a bunch of classrooms, so we can teach classes on ballistics. We can, you can't really do a long range class inside there unless you're just teaching fundamentals. But we do have a property we can go out to and do those type of classes as well.
That's awesome. That'd be really cool. I want to come do the 360 thing.
I actually haven't got to hop in the simulator myself yet, but I've shown some people on tours, and every time I go on there, it's like, why am I not doing this yet?
Simulators are really fun. So at our church, we have a security team, and I'm like the only chick on it, but that's okay. So it's a lot of ex-military and police officers that are on there, and just like basically we are allowed to carry our gun while we're there.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a thing at the police station, like a training with us, and it wasn't so much about like, can you shoot? It was really about analyzing a situation. So it was a simulator, and it was really cool because it would be different situations, and you had to like figure out at what point you would draw your weapon, right? Because it's not appropriate to always just like be like, woo, I'm a cowboy.
Right.
So, but it was really cool. It made you think, and some of them were like really fast, and it was like, nope, you're dead. You didn't draw fast enough. So it was really cool. But some of them, like you didn't need to draw at all. It was just a matter of like talking to the person and talking them down. So it was really cool.
This works very similarly, and again, I can't speak from experience on it, but just from what I've understand how the system works, is they do play out the scenario, and you have to interact with the AI, and there's tons of different scenarios on how that AI is going to react to what you say, what you do, and it's kind of one of those things where you hop in there and you try an interaction, and you can. There's just endless possibilities of how that interaction will go. So from a training standpoint, learning what to say when you're supposed to do things is fantastic.
It's very cool.
I can't figure out why I keep on going blurry, but
You going blurry for you? Because I don't think you go blurry for me. So.
No, he's definitely going blurry.
Yeah, you are a little bit blurry.
There you go. Just keep your face right there.
yeah, right. Just gotta keep the face
Just
there. There we go. I came into focus now. I just had to
Mean
put my
mug
hand
the
up.
camera.
Boom. That worked. I'm gonna do that again.
So we talked a little bit before about chunking your spotting scope off the side of a mountain and things. So
Yeah.
you all have quite the warranty, a VIP warranty that is pretty much the talk of the town, right? Everybody knows that Vortex has a huge warranty, and it's a big selling point for customers. Tell us a
sure.
little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, Tony Gemelli, I think, said it best to me. He said, we shouldn't even call it a warranty. We should call it a free insurance policy.
That's exactly the way I thought about it when I first read it. I'm like, I don't think it's going to break because like they give it this, but it's like if I do something stupid or like if your house burns down. We had a guy local to us, and he didn't have insurance. Long story, and his house full of guns burnt down, and well, he had some brand new Vortex optics to stick on some burnt guns.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I think so. The VIP and VIP warranty doesn't stand for very important person, like VIP traditionally stands for. It actually stands for very important promise, and I think that they wrote it that way because Vortex, even though that we've been around since about 2002, we're still a fairly new company by consideration. If you look at some of our competitors, have been around for 100 years. It's one of those things where if you are a Vortex customer, you're buying our products, you've been buying other people's products first. And, as our promise to you for being our customer, we're going to make sure we always take care of you.
That's awesome. I think customer service is probably my top thing. Like if in a restaurant, if my food comes out horrible, and the manager comes out and is like, I am so sorry, we are going to fix this. Then I'm like, okay, you're forgiven.
Yep.
And if they come out and they're like, dude, deal with it, then I'm like, okay, never coming here again. Yep. Like customer service.
And you'll go out of your way to tell people about your bad experience.
Right. And customer service is so underdone anymore. And it's such a huge piece. I think if you're just nice to people and you try to make right whatever happens, I feel like it goes a long way.
Yeah, we actually have customers that are such repeats that, calling for advice that they'll actually just call into chat and be like, hey, it's a nice day. We just thought I'd give you a call and see how you're doing, and stuff like that's really kind of heartwarming that they understand that we're also just people that like to shoot and hunt and fish outdoors. So being able to have those customers that just look at you as another person rather than an 800 number is fantastic.
That's awesome. I know I've called in once or twice before, and it's always been a great experience, and I got taken care of super quick. Let's hit a couple lives real quick. Guys on the live side, I'm sorry it's lagging. It's doing all sorts of funky stuff, so I'm trying to get to all of them. I'm definitely going to end up missing some. But Jorge said, what's up, Jen, Greg, and Nick? And he wants to know if we're going to be at MPA this weekend, and I will not.
I also will not.
I'm sorry, Jorge.
Sorry,
I'll let
brother.
you down.
Let's see. Chad Glasscock said, what's up, Nick?
Love Chad.
There's another one in here. Shane wants to know what the best long-range scope is from Vortex for a 7.62 by 51 M1A with an EBR chassis.
Awesome question. So I guess what I always like to ask people is what is long range for them and that weapon system. So if they tell me that they want to go out to 1,000, my rule of thumb is if you need to get impacts on a big piece of steel, 1 power for every 100 yards makes it doable. So if you have a 1 power optic, you should be okay out to 100. Um, you know, if they're going out to something like 1,000 yards, though, I would say at least a 10 power is, I don't want to say necessary, but very useful. Going up to something like 20 power for precision is certainly, if you want to get the job done on a small target, that's the way to go. If they want a particular scope, though, throw a Gen 2 Razor 4.5 to 27 on that thing, and you'll love it.
I'm about to say that was gonna be my answer for the best is right there, Gen 2 Razor.
Yeah, that's that is a serious optic, and they're right at home on an M1A.
Mm-hmm. Jen wants to know, she's been told that when using a spotting scope to read Mirage, the higher quality scopes will look through it instead of being able to really see it. What are your thoughts?
So the look through it, I think, is an easy way to explain something. In my opinion, probably not the best way. So if you're looking downrange and you have a heavy Mirage, higher optical quality will allow you to break apart that Mirage. So instead of it just looking like a blur, you'll see individual waves. And when you see defined waves, it'll look like you can see through it better and a higher resolution. So I like, when it comes to spotting scopes, optical quality is really everything. As you increase magnification, optical quality starts to dither down. Image doesn't look quite as good. So if you're going to go with something that tops out around 60 power, you better have a hell of a nice optic. One of my favorites, of course, is the 27 to 60 Razor. But the 11 to 33 Razor is probably my second favorite for its versatility, and 33 power at the top end is a ton of magnification.
That's awesome. Jennifer, it's time to do that thing.
Hey, P Winky. I don't even have to look. I know that's what he's saying. Hello, Prentice.
Hey, Prentice.
And
welcome
Ashley,
to the show.
Because God, Ashley puts up with you, Prentice. So I have to shout out to Ashley.
Y'all, Ryan Hay is in the house. He said, "What up?"
Nice.
Hey. Hay's my buddy.
Mine too.
So now it's time, I think, to do that thing.
Ooh, that one thing?
That one thing. That big thing?
That big thing?
That shotgun giveaway thing?
Where we give away like the biggest, most expensive, most awesome thing we've ever given away here on the Shooter's Mindset.
Pretty awesome.
Where I get to use a program that I've never used before on screen share in front of everybody and hope that it works.
Go for it.
All right.
No embarrassment.
Oh, I'm going to screw this up big time. You know it. All right. So according to this, I have to click this green button here, and it's going to choose who won this really awesome TS12 Tavor shotgun. So let's click it. Blah, blah, blah.
I feel like we need a drum roll.
Right?
Can somebody do it?
I can't do it and click draw, but there's our drum roll. Drawing. This is Neil Gilbert.
Neil Gilbert.
Nice.
From Lincolnton, Georgia.
Woohoo!
Neil, I'm going to figure out how I email you with this thing. And
Lincolnton, that's kind of local to us.
I'm about to say, that's not far. That's up by the lake. Let's see. How do I stop share when I try and contact Neil?
You're like, how do I not share anymore?
Yeah.
I'm reading Prentice's question. Does Mirage affect the BC of a bullet? That is fantastic.
Go ahead, Nick. I'm going to let you hit that one.
No.
Yeah. I think you should totally hit it, Nick.
No, that's the answer. No, it doesn't.
No.
All right.
That's a negative.
So pretty much this year, you guys at Vortex have been coming out with some really new optics geared towards new precision shooters, entry-level precision shooters, people like myself that don't have like $1 million to spend on a scope for every rifle, like the Diamondback Tactical and the new Strike Eagle 5-25 by 56. Also, Strike Eagle was my first Vortex optic. It was awesome, got me hooked. How have you guys kind of seen those accepted in the market? I know I've been seeing a lot of the Diamondback. I know the Strike Eagle is still fairly new, but I've seen probably 5 of them in the last week and still haven't got to shoot one.
The Diamondback Tactical, the first focal plane model, sold really fast and really hard. The new Strike Eagle 5 to 25, I think, is still close enough to that person's budget, but getting into quite a bit more optic, and they're selling like crazy. I think that for somebody getting into, let's say, like NRL 22 games, they're pretty hard pressed to find a better optic for it. A minimum parallax range at 15 yards, a locking turret system with a zero stop system, illumination, the EBR-7C reticle, first focal plane, 5 to 25 power. It's kind of just got everything you need. Obviously it's not going to resolve your detail downrange as well as a Gen 2 Razor will, but it'll do everything good enough.
I think that's a huge thing to have at entry level. Like, that's probably one of the most common questions that people will message me. They're like, what glass do I get? Like, what budget glass? They want to know what it takes to get into, be able to shoot a precision match, but not have to like cut their leg off and sell it. And so that's probably the biggest thing, is people wanting to know what they can get into the sport with.
Yeah, because previous to that, like, this has always been my answer right here. The PST Gen 2. That was my first long range scope. I love it. I just got really lucky and got a really good sale at Precision Rifle Expo. Or else that would have been a tough reach there.
The PST Gen 2 used to be kind of my go-to as well, just for its feature set. But that new Strike Eagle, I mean, it's an optic that if I was going to go shoot production in a national level PRS match, I'd feel comfortable using it. I mean, it's that good, and it's got the features.
The Strike Eagle became a game changer in 3-gun.
Yes. That 1 to 6.
Because when it came out, I was shooting 3-gun at the time. I wasn't in precision. So that was the big thing, is it came out. It was a very budget-friendly scope that was very, very affordable and very good. And so everybody was running a Strike Eagle. Like, it became like the scope to run. Everybody was running it. So to be able to have that then transition into PRS and have a scope that is in that line that's good enough for the game, it's just perfect, I think, for new shooters.
Well, and people that already are using something like our Gen 2 Razor, if you put the Strike Eagle side by side to a Gen 2 Razor, from its kind of size and feel and look, it just looks like a black Gen 2 Razor, really, until you start actually looking closely, and it obviously weighs a little bit less, which is kind of an odd thing. That Strike Eagle would be right at home for a long-range hunter even. But, for somebody who wants to get into precision rifle, competitive shooting, and needs something that'll get the job done very well, if you take a top 10 finisher at a national PRS match and put a Strike Eagle on their rifle, it's not going to take them out of the top 10. It's going to do everything they need to do. Again, you're not going to have as high a resolution. Your image quality won't be quite as good, but at a third of the price, it can't be. So, I have one on one of my NRL 22 guns, and I have zero problems with it. Absolutely love it. I can't say more about it.
So with like the giant growing of rimfire precision rifle, particularly the NRL 22 being the biggest part of it over the last, really like this year and last year, from what I've seen, has been the biggest growth of it. Have you guys noticed an increase in sale in some of those entry-level optics?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of one of the driving forces behind the design of the 5 to 25 Strike Eagle, is, I don't want to say going after that market, but definitely being able to provide an optic that'll fit that market very well, as well as other our markets as well. For a PRS trainer, for an NRL 22 gun, it fits into both those categories so well that I don't know. It's one of those ones that when it came out, when I was initially testing it before its debut, I was smiling ear to ear for a week. It's exactly what I was hoping we could come out with in that price point, and it's perfect for it.
Yeah, it really is awesome. What's the price point on that?
MSRP is $799.99, so I think you pick them up at most dealers for about $699.
That's awesome. And it really does. When you said it looks like a black razor, the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, someone painted a razor black?
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people, I've had mine out in public and say, oh, where'd you get the black Gen 2? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what it is.
No, not quite.
So
not quite.
Let's go a little bit technical here. And I know we weren't really planning on doing this, but let's go. Okay. We'll go Diamondback to Strike Eagle to PST to Razor.
Okay.
And kind of compare those optics, because they're in between the four of them. They're probably four of the most popular optics in precision shooting.
Yep. Well, if you can compare them, you have to recognize that one of the biggest things with price is not just optical quality, but features.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to have an external turret system, something that you can dial on the fly to compensate for range or wind. The Diamondback does not have a zero stop mechanism, and it does not have a zero stop, and it doesn't have a locking turret. It also does not have illumination. Going up to the Strike Eagle, you get that illumination, you get the zero stop, and you get the locking turret system. The PST Gen 2, you get a higher optical quality. You do get a zero stop mechanism. The turret doesn't lock, but that's actually because it has our RZR zero stop. It's the same mechanism in our original 5-20 Razor. So we use that same design for the PST Gen 2. And of course, if you go up to the Razor HD Gen 2, then you have the locking turret system, you have the mechanical zero stop, it's the LTEC system, you have the illumination. The illumination is also a locking illumination, a larger magnification range. Optical quality is much better. It's really comes down to, as you go through those tiers and as you change the price point, you're increasing both optical quality and feature set.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's just so much there, and a lot of the stuff looks the same. It's like 5-25, 5-25, but there really is a difference between all of them. Let's head over to some more questions. Had to reload, got some. Jorge asks, Nick, for the military and law enforcement personnel, do they take advantage of the Vortex program through Expert Voice, or do they call Vortex direct?
So we do still do Expert Voice, but now if you call in and talk to our consumer sales team, they can get you set up, and we have a portal now to make it a little bit easier.
That's awesome. I know y'all have been huge supporters of military.
We certainly try to. Military and law enforcement is very important for us all to support them as much as we can. So we've had that 40% off MSRP for as long as I can remember.
I know that's a huge asset to them.
Mm-hmm. Joe Cayley has a question. He said,
Hey, Joe.
Joe.
He wants to know what's a good scope to use on a high-powered pellet rifle to shoot squirrels on a certain Augusta golf course. And yes, it's not his first hunt there. So first, Joe, Jennifer and I are more than willing to come and help. Just hit us up and we'll come out and give you a hand.
Joe, where are you trying to kill the squirrels, dude?
You know where he's trying to kill the squirrels.
I know. You're going to get in a lot of trouble for that one.
I feel like Joe's one of those guys that somehow just has a way to do that.
Oh, Joe doesn't care.
Yeah, he's killing squirrels while he's hunting for Sasquatch.
That's right. He's really out there for Sasquatch, not the squirrels.
So what was his question again? I was actually trying to read the question, and of course my volume kicked down. I was desperately trying to turn it off.
We noticed. He wants a good scope to put on a high-powered pellet rifle to shoot squirrels.
Well, any of our scopes will get the job done well for that. There's a lot of, we get that question actually quite a bit for pellet rifles. Pellet rifles in general have the ability to destroy optics pretty easily, but we kind of build our optics around the principle that people are going to put them on anything, whether it be a pellet gun or a 50 BMG. they're intended to be able to be put on all those weapon systems. So what's going to be a better question for Joe is what type of magnification and feature set he needs. If he's going to be compensating for range by dialing in a turret system, something in that target and tactical line, Diamondback Tactical, Strike Eagle, PST Gen 2, Razor HD Gen 2, AMG, all those would work. Obviously, price point matters too, because, I would probably be putting a Diamondback Tactical on a pellet rifle. Some guys are going to be wanting to put an AMG on there. So it just kind of depends there too.
So, hey, Gina and Hay are both coming to hunt squirrels with us. So let's go. It's going to be a fun weekend.
That would be pretty intense.
I grew up with a pellet gun, a BB gun, basically, shooting squirrels in my backyard because they ate our furniture. I hate squirrels. They did. They ate all of the stuffing out of a furniture, and it was just like a skeleton of fabric left because they pulled all the stuffing out of the furniture. It was ridiculous. So, Joe, I'm right there with you. Let's go kill some squirrels because I hate them.
But hey,
they're delicious.
Silly question. Why don't we just get our GSL suppressors and screw them on our 22s? And then we could take this squirrel hunting with the GSL suppressor on the end of it.
Well, there's a little thing called a tax stamp that I have to get first.
Okay, so we'll bring our FFLs with us. We'll invite Tony and Roy. We're gonna have to take a bus out there.
I'll go squirrel hunting though. Call me, Joe. We will go.
Yeah.
Squirrels are like the bane of my existence. So let's go.
We could just invite Kevin and he could bring the box of suppressors.
Yeah, and then we can silently kill squirrels, and it will be a service to the community because they're a nuisance.
And
I love squirrels.
You love squirrels? Have they not eaten your furniture?
No, they're delicious and adorable.
They are
okay,
delicious.
well, I'll shoot them and you can eat them.
There you go. I'll do that.
I'm not sure I really want to eat them, but you can eat them. I'll shoot them.
I'll cook you up some squirrel stew.
Oh, you'll like it.
It is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
We're doing a show with notes and stuff. Let's see. What else we're going to talk about?
That's right. So we're about to talk about
sure?
binos. We're going to talk about binos and what
Okay.
binos
Big
we
binos?
have.
Big binos, little binos. I don't have binos in here, or do I? Oh my gosh, I do.
You better have binos, Nick. Your
I have
vortex.
binos here.
Nick.
Oh, he's got medium binos.
I got medium binos.
So, random question: why were those like at the window? Do you have neighbors that you're looking at, or
We're watching
What?
the puppy.
What window is close to your window?
That window goes out to the park. Watch the dog play.
That is awesome, Nick. Okay. Moving on. So, yes, everybody makes fun of my little binos.
Yeah.
But
Dainty.
they
But
really
they're
do.
awesome binos.
They really do an awesome job. I mean, they are vortex and they do an awesome job, and I can see the targets and I can spot with them. Anyway,
We
they're
do need to
amazing.
get you a set of UHDs though to replace them. I'm sorry, those are adorable and they're wonderful. They're iconic, but a pair of 12 by 50 UHDs will make you very happy.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm game, but
ooh, can you see the Mirage?
I have 3 kids in college. Right now, I see no Mirage. I just see, everything's too close. But anyway, what do you have, Greg? What binos do you have?
So I have the Crossfire HD because I don't know how I'm poor. Like my house is not expensive. All I do is shoot and like cook all my
You
food.
shoot
at
a
home.
lot. That's why you're poor.
I shoot half as much as you do. But yeah, so I was, I've been saving and putting off to buy, I had my eyes on something. Then finally I was like, screw it. Spend $200 to get myself a set of binos for now. And honestly, I absolutely love these, especially at the price point. But my only, I could see the targets fine. I could spot impacts out at 1,200 yards. But everyone's like, oh yeah, you see the Mirage boiling? I'm like, you guys see Mirage?
Yeah, that is definitely an advantage of getting a little bit higher optical quality, is being able to break apart that Mirage. Rather than looking at a blur, you're looking at waves. Certainly a benefit to the precision rifle community.
It is definitely I'll say my first year shooting, I did not have any binos because I was poor and I had to buy a gun. But anyway, And so I got these and from an amazing friend, and I started taking them with me, and they were my binos. They might be little and dainty, but they're my binos. So I can sit on the glass. So literally when I'm not reloading a mag or doing something, I'm on glass watching. And I've learned more from watching through that glass than from anybody telling me anything. So just sitting there and watching and seeing what the wind was doing and what, watching 15 shooters before me all hammer the right side of the target, like off the right of the target. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should hold left because everybody's missing off the right.
Yeah.
So I can't say enough the value of having your own binos and being able to go and spot at a match and just watch what's going on through it. Watch the mirage, watch the vegetation, and everything is like huge.
Yeah, I'm not really, I would say, an accomplished shooter. I don't have any trophies to brag about.
Me either.
But I will say one of the things that's caused me to learn the most is when I get to a stage, especially if I'm like the last shooter, as soon as I get there, I get my tripod out and set up my binoculars and look at the targets and watch people shoot. Watch trace, watch mirage, watch wind, the trees blowing, the vegetation moving, watch the wind direction. My good friend Emil Praslik, it's one thing that he talks about a lot is how important wind direction is, even more so than wind speed. And that's helped me out a lot with getting better wind calls. So watching that wind direction, watch it change, being able to see the highs and lows and identify that while you're on the gun is it's made me a better shooter, just being able to watch those things and know what to look for.
I agree. I think so many new shooters come on. Like I did this as a new shooter. I was like, what's the wind? What's the wind? I'd ask everybody, right? I didn't try to establish what it was on my own because I didn't know how. And so I think it was a huge thing to be able to start watching and try to start see for myself what was going on downrange. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have your own glass and be able to watch it.
Well, something that I really enjoy, and I shouldn't say I enjoy it because it's kind of sad to see, but if you watch somebody get up on their rifle, they know what their wind call is, they get up and they start hitting targets, and you see that mirage go away, you turn to a boil, or you see the grass stop moving, and you know that when they're going to pull the trigger, that next bullet's going to go off the wrong side. And to be able to watch that and know it's going to happen and then actually see that come true, just that quick validation of, yep, I'm getting this is making sense to me. Being able to look at that through a pair of binos or a spotting scope, binos in particular, I find better for spotting this type of game. That is one of the first things I talk to people about if they're asking me, what do I need to get started? Obviously, a good shooting rifle, some basic equipment, and a set of binos so that they can watch what's going on.
I will say, I feel like everybody is so focused on the glass that goes on the gun, and that is very important. But like, I know myself, I did not put the value into having a good set of binos. Like I was like, oh, I'll just look through other people's binos and find the targets. And I did that for a year and a half, almost 2 years probably. But it made a huge difference when I got my own and I could just sit there on the glass the whole time, and watch.
Yeah. And not only that, but if you have a confusing course of fire where, some places you go to and it's like, all right, shoot the one next to the giant 7 and then the one next to the giant 8 and the one next to the giant 9, and they're all right in front of you. But when you have one of these where it's like that target over there between those trees and then that one over there and then these 3 out and stuff, being able to sit there and say, okay, there, and play the stage in front of your eyes time after time after time before you go to shoot. When you get down, you're not hunting for targets. You know the range. You know what you're looking at, which is something that helped me out a lot because that was one of the things I struggled with a lot getting into this precision rifle. Coming from 3-gun, it's like, okay, cool. I shoot all of the brown paper in between these 3 walls.
Yeah.
But then go into this where it's, 1,200 yards that way, 1,200 yards that way, 1,200 yards that way, and the targets are somewhere in there. That's a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah. Well, people doing like the Steel Safari and things like that, where you actually have to locate the targets, having a good set of binos is, I would say, 100% necessary for those folks. But if you're, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like if you're shooting a stage and you know that you have a tailwind or a headwind, and you're watching people's bullet trace, being able to see how that bullet is moving through the air, which, is it left or right most of the time, being able to distinguish that before you get on the rifle is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say in Wyoming, there were a couple of stages that the targets were, and it's probably not difficult to people that shoot out west all the time or Midwest, but for me, East Coast, like I know K&M, I can read a stage description and I can kind of see in my head where it's going to be, right? Where this was like the side of a mountain in like this much sagebrush. There's like going to be a target through there. And then over here on this sagebrush, like it was, and there were a lot of people after day one that said, man, I couldn't find the targets on that stage. That rock stage took me forever to find the targets. That's all I kept hearing at dinner. Everybody was bitching about they couldn't find the targets. So that was our first stage that morning. And I got there and I was like, all right, I am not going to have trouble finding these targets. So I like sat there for 30 minutes, like through the binos, just like looking at the targets, like finding them. Okay, that tree with that crooked branch. But anyway, it was invaluable to be able to have that and be able to look at the targets multiple times throughout and kind of find what I was going to be looking through my scope when I got down.
Well, that's another thing that's I think is kind of important, is having a binocular that is either the same magnification or a little bit lower magnification than you tend to shoot on. So I like to shoot around 15 to 18 power. So I like my 12 power UHDs because it's getting a relatively close magnification, but a larger field of view. So I can find my targets easier, but then I can also distinguish landmarks so I can easily find them on the clock. Re-identify the targets, I should say. Was that stage that everybody was having a difficult time with? Was that a blind stage or was that a?
It wasn't a blind stage, but it was just the targets were really hard to find. I mean, it was just like you look and it was sagebrush that all looked the same. I mean, it was a pretty, and the targets were not like, oh, you find it and it's all in this field of view, right? It was like here and then over here and then over here. Like it was a good bit of moving. It was a lot of panning. Like you had to think about when you set up on that rock that you had to be able to pan all the way across. So it was a good stage for having to find targets. It was a challenge. So it was a great gaming thing with, that Brian and George did. But a lot of really good shooters said they had a hard time finding those targets.
Jim C did one at the Rampage this year. That what was the stage title? It was called "Everybody's a Sniper Until They Have to Do Sniper Shit." And that
sounds
stage,
very Jim C-ish.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a Jim C line. But that stage, I think it was one that some people got frustrated with. I absolutely loved it, and I didn't do good, but I absolutely loved it because it was a very different stage than we normally have in these type of matches. So the way he did it was he hung red T-shirts out across this entire span. And it was basically the whole field that we could look at. And these red T-shirts, the way he had it written is you walk up and it's a blind stage. So you immediately go sit behind the tent looking in the opposite direction. And once you return to shoot, you go up there and they give you a quick brief and then go. And basically it was you have a target in the vicinity of each of these red shirts. And these were all head targets. They weren't like IPSC or big squares. They were just heads, and they were unpainted, and they were like tucked back in the shadows and stuff. And only the guys with, I would say, experience doing that kind of thing in a professional capacity were really killing it on that stage. Working your parallax back and forth, just putting your focus on little different planes to identify things. He'd had the same course of fire, that same stage on day 2, and kind of allowed people to get a second crack at it. And there's a 10-round stage, and even even with the second crack, I think I only got 5 or 6 hits. So I mean, it was difficult because you walk off that stage and you still don't know where the targets were.
Damn. Yeah, I feel like that's the stage that would eat my lunch.
Oh, it ate a lot of people's lunches.
Let's head over to lives real quick. You said the word UHD, and pretty much everybody said, "Oh my God, these are the greatest things ever." So I'll sum that all up in that real quick thing. Everybody loves them. Ryan Hay wants to know, with the new EBR 7C out, can we anticipate a new reticle next year?
Well, that depends. You mean just to add on to the Gen 2 Razor line?
I have no idea what Ryan Hay means.
Ryan Hay, be more descriptive. What the hell?
Ryan, come on, hey.
Right now, and this is just my opinion, of course, we currently have in the Gen 2 Razor line the EBR 7C, the H59 from Horus, and the Tremor 3 from Horus. Those two reticles, I think, feed into certain communities better than PRS. Some guys shooting PRS type matches do like those. I'm not that big a fan. I think that the EBR 7C reticle fits this game so well. I think to come out with a different reticle right now or in the very near future would be, I think, kind of a waste. That's my opinion on it, of course.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is over here. So I think there was some conversation that I missed because for some reason comments are still screwed up. It says 81 comments. I see like 16. But Gina's over here talking about binos versus spotting scopes. She likes binos more because there's a bigger field of view, better chance to catch trace. But if she's like ROing long range targets at a national match, then she'll use a spotter. What about you guys? If you guys were heading to a match, a PRS match, would you grab binos or a spotter?
I'm always going to take my binos. My 12x50 UHDs, I can't be happier with them, which it sounds like a lot of people are, which makes me very happy.
I think binos don't make my eyes as tired because with a spotting scope and it's one eye and you're like, squinting, and I feel like this side of my face is going to have more wrinkles than the other.
It does.
Shut up. So it makes me not happy. But I mean, literally with binos, you can sit there with both eyes open and you can just sit there. You know what I mean? To me, it's more relaxing. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on glass for a long time, I think I prefer binos to the one of a spotting scope.
Yeah.
But that might just be me. I might be weird. I don't know.
I'm very much in agreement with Regina on that. If I'm going to be ROing a stage and I have maybe 1 or 2 targets that are close together and I can easily get myself on target, being able to identify not necessarily whether it's a hit or an impact and say, no, you hit in the bottom left corner, or I can see the last mark there, that shiny glint on the piece of steel. That is very useful for that application. Going from stage to stage, watching trace, being able to identify targets quickly, get a good idea of what the wind's doing. I still think a pair of binos is 100% the way to go.
Yep, I agree with you on that. Hey, Hunter's HD Gold is in the house. And they said that they're very proud to have Vortex optics on all of Hunter's HD Gold custom guns.
Nice.
I love my HD Gold. I put my HD Gold on, and then I look through my Vortex optics. It's a great combination. And Hay did say, yes, add on to the Gen 2 Razor.
Nice. Okay. Well, Ryan, we'll have a conversation. You tell me what we need to add.
I'm sure he will tell you.
I'm sure he will too.
So Tim has a question. He said, if there's ever going to be a Gen 3 Razor, can it please be black?
Can it please be black? That is a... Man,
That's
we
hard
get that
because
so
the razors
much.
always have that.
Yeah,
like it's distinct. You know it's a razor because...
Yeah. It's like I love black. Like I was going for green and black, and then stuff changed drastically on that. There's other
make them like sky blue. I mean, that's not color. Like make them sky blue, and then everybody knows that the blue is a razor.
Yeah, so the Gen 3 Razor, Gen 2 Razor, Gen 1 Razor, they're all going to do that same color scheme. I think that's so that they're identifiable.
Now, I have a question.
Okay.
What is that color called?
It is called Stealth Shadow.
It's not very stealth on my rifle.
So the actual reason that color was developed for a couple of reasons. For one, it stands out. A lot of companies are going to a similar color scheme. It's starting to become more popular, even though some people still don't like it. But if you look at that color under night vision, it almost disappears, whereas black is still very noticeable.
Really?
So that is a big part of that color, and that's the reason why we named it Stealth Shadow. It's become so iconic and identifiable in the Razor line, I think we'd have a hard time getting rid of it. Now, if sometime down the road it became a big enough request from people, because we hear it, but it's 1 out of every 30 customers demand the black Gen 2 Razor. Maybe at some point we'd add a separate SKU with a different color, but I think we'd be more likely to expand our AMG line and do those in black, because our AMG is already black. And if we decide to do a super high mag or maybe a low power variable AMG, that would probably stay in that color. My thoughts.
I feel like you shouldn't change what, like, everybody knows that's the Razor.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice thing for us, especially if you have a photographer at a match and there's a bunch of rifles lined up and somebody snaps a picture, you can quickly count how many Gen 2 Razor in that line without having to look too close.
And you can find my rifle very quickly.
Yes, you can.
God, yes. You just can't see anything near it. Yeah, you don't have to like zoom in and try and see what the model is. I mean, everybody knows that color is the Razor line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It deviates just enough from the standard everybody knows flat dark earth that you can still identify it quickly as, okay, that's definitely a Razor.
Yeah, that's a Razor. That's what it is.
However, blue would look good.
Yeah,
Just saying, I like blue. It's my favorite color. I'm not asking for pink. Just blue.
Oh. Just blue.
Just some blue.
And so before we leave we've kind of left the binos, but we're still kind of on the binos. You guys have anything else new, cool coming out soon as far as binos go?
We got a lot of new cool stuff coming.
Ooh, new cool stuff.
Yep. Cool stuff is good.
Well, I can't discuss it, but yeah, no, we actually this year we
will waterboard you.
Right, I know. So we're very fortunate to have a amazing new product development team, and that team has been growing, and we've had more and more project managers added to that team, and so it's allowed us to take on some more products. And I think over the next year, where you're going to see more releases from Vortex than we had in the last 3 years combined. So it's fantastic. Just
now I'm really curious.
I'm about to say, because you guys already released products probably faster than a lot of the other people on the market.
I was marginally curious before, and now I'm like,
we got a lot of stuff coming. I'm really excited about it.
Now I'm gonna waterboard you after the show. But anyway.
Right.
Not me. I'm sweet. I'm a nice person. We'll see.
So
anyway.
He's like, okay. A little bit scared.
That's all right.
So did we ask about higher magnification for the Gen 3 Razor?
Are you asking if we're going to do a high magnification Gen 3?
Yes. Are we going to?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
How high?
I can't tell you that.
Oh!
So, I tell people this all the time. When before we had the 1 to 10 Gen 3 come out, everybody said, Nick, are you guys going to do a Gen 3? You going to do a Gen 3? Of course we are. What comes after Gen 2?
Yeah, there's always going to be more.
Yeah.
Gen 2S.
And I think if we didn't do a higher magnification model Gen 3, it would be pretty silly on our part. I think the biggest hurdle that we have with doing a Gen 3 in that high magnification model is we have to not just do better than our current Gen 2, we have to knock it out of the park. Mm-hmm. That is such an iconic optic for this discipline of shooting that if you're going to release a Gen 3 to essentially beat it out, it needs to rival the Gen 2. It needs to be as good, if not better, than our competition. And we have some pretty strong competitors right now. And it's important that if what we bring to market is the right optic. So we've been working on stuff for quite a while. That Gen 3 1 to 10 was in development for like 3 years.
Are there any other bells and whistles on it that you can hint?
Gosh, no.
Us, or no? He's like, oh my God, stop cornering me.
I feel like that was a piece of paper he had to sign with blood when they started telling him about what they were doing.
Maybe not.
Dave wants to know if the Gen 3 Razor can have a segmented circle reticle in first focal plane.
A segmented circle. I'm trying to picture what he means by that.
He used an emoji of a circle.
Okay.
So it's round.
So are we talking about like what you would see in, let's say, our Strike Eagle or our 1 to 10 Gen 3, where it is a circle that's broken? We're talking about?
That is what it sounds like.
Okay. I don't know. I would guess not, just because that's very... I would say it's more popular in the low power variables where you're going to be using a 1 power and you need that center to represent a dot. Something that I think would be, I don't want to say not useful in a high magnification optic, but I would say less utilized. So who knows? Maybe if it's something that we need to take a look at, we can take a look at. But as far as I know, it's not something that we would do outside of the low power variables like we do in the Gen 3 1 to 10.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. We got a live one from Whitney Saunders. Whit, if you're shooting this weekend, please, dear God, drink water.
Hey, Whit, drink water. I'm not there to save you this time.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Did we have somebody with a heat stroke, or what happened there?
Maybe, but...
Yeah.
But I'd say that was a very positive waking up for him.
He woke up with me, Candace Horner, and Teresa Drew over top of him.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
It's for all the medical people.
Yeah, you need water. If it's hot, drink your water. I've made and this is kind of off topic, but I've made a pretty strong turn to, I always take electrolyte powder with me to every match. I drink a bottle of water per stage, and I like to put electrolyte powder in that water, just because I had so many times last year where it was so hot, I just couldn't concentrate. I was just foggy, and at a certain point, you're at the end of the match, and you're like, shit, I don't remember shooting my last stage, and that's not good when you're holding a rifle.
Yeah.
So
a loaded gun in your hand, and you're like,
right, I don't know where I'm at. Yeah. So no, having lots of water, keeping hydrated is that's something I've taken to heart this year.
Yeah, I made that. Normally, I drink a ton of water at matches, and I think I drank a ton of water at my last match, but just not enough. And I was proud of myself. I was shooting much better than I normally do the first half of the day, and then around halfway through the day, I just kind of went blah, and started dropping everything. But anyway, Whitney's question: when using the zeroing dial, should you unlock the turrets then move the zeroing dial? Just asking for his well-being.
Are we talking about a Gen 2 Razor? I'm guessing so. No, wait. That's a hard question to answer without knowing what he shoots, I think, unfortunately.
Shoot me a message and clarify that, or ask.
Yeah, because it's going to be...
Scope.
Yeah. It's a different zeroing process depending on the mechanism. So if you're using the LTEC turret system, you're going to have the turret set like the LTEC is in the Gen 3 or the Gen 2 and the AMG. You have 3 set screws and a locking turret, and you'll have that locking turret set on 0. So you loosen the 3 set screws, you'll make an adjustment to the internal turret. It's kind of like a clock face there, and then you lock the 3 set screws down. So then you have your 0 indexed and your 0 set for the range that you're zeroing your rifle at. Whereas if you're using like a PST Gen 2, you're going to index the 0 stop by turning your turret all the way back until it comes to a dead stop. And then you're going to use your internal turret to make adjustments to your zero, replace it, and then go from there. So again, it just depends on the system that you're using.
And after almost a year of thinking about it, you will really screw up a PST if you zero it wrong.
Yep. I've done it myself.
I have. So you remember the first time I talked to you on the way home from actually the MPA match last year?
I do remember.
And it was probably about a month ago
I'm
that I was
sorry
that
I gave him your number, Nick.
No,
I was like,
I'm actually really glad you did, because
I was like, let me text Nick.
I was having flashbacks. That was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. And I'm 99% sure that I set the zero stop wrong after I went to go zero it again for my NRL 22 match last weekend. And I was like, I bet you that's what I screwed up when I broke that. I think that's what I did, is I had it up too high, and then I had too much stuff to bend and break.
Too much stuff.
The RZR zero stop that we have in the Gen 1 Razor and the PST Gen 2, it's one of those ones that you can mess up quickly if you don't start in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we've actually started including some instructions on the optic rather than expecting people to open the instruction manual. Like, it's there, so you like do this first. You know, I'm guilty of it myself. If I get a new toy, the first thing I want to do is spin some shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that with a PST Gen 2 in the wrong way, then you can cause yourself some issues and you have to call customer service.
Which is a great customer service, by the way.
I'm glad that we were able to take care of it for you.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see.
Only Greg could break so much stuff.
Yeah, excuse me, miss, drop my rifle through the stairs.
It didn't break, did it? Didn't break. Glass didn't break. RO might have looked at me and been like, you're not allowed to carry your gun up anymore, but it didn't break. Just saying.
You dropped it with grace.
It was not graceful.
No.
It was pretty ugly, but you know, whatever. It's all right. It's my first time. It was something else. So what matches do you have coming up, Nick? What's in the lineup? Like, for the rest of the season, what do you have?
I actually don't know.
You don't know?
Right, I know. So I was actually planning on going to Vapor Trails this last weekend. I had some other scheduling conflicts come up, so I was unable to attend that match. I was planning on going to the NorCal Invitational. Unfortunately, that just got canceled.
I heard that got canceled.
Yeah. I didn't have. I try to play my matches kind of by ear, because a lot of my other things get scheduled and I end up having to cancel stuff. So I tend to attend matches, unless it's one like we're the title sponsor for or something like that. I try to attend matches kind of on a whim. If I have an open weekend and there's a match coming up, I might call the match director and say, hey man, you got an extra slot, and I'll hop into that match. But I really started off the season wanting to focus on the Border Wars North Central series, and I think I've only shot one of those matches this year. So it's just been a mess of a year.
I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
This year has been quite a mess.
Yeah.
Nothing good about it, really.
This weekend and the weekend before last were both. I think the weekend before last, Thursday, I decided I was going to shoot a match. And then actually, it's only Tuesday, and I decided I'm shooting a match this weekend. So at least I got more time this week.
Well, I know that I need to go down the basement and start loading ammo so that if I do have a match come up, I can go, because I need to get some more shooting in. I'm getting a little bit restless.
No, you're supposed to load it the night before. That's what Gina told me.
Yeah, fresh ammo is the best ammo, I believe it is. Yeah.
Always. In fact, yes. That my friend is the one that gave me these wonderful binos, Gina.
The milk.
And she's messaging me some funny things that I won't say. So that's why I'm kind of dying right now, because something she just messaged, I was like, You don't want me to ask Nick that, do you? She's like, no.
Oh God. I can only
Anyway,
imagine.
that's for a later discussion. So back to the show.
Back to the
AG
show.
Cup coverage.
Yes.
So apparently, is it on tomorrow on Shooting USA?
Yeah, so like I was just like doing what I always do and laying in the bed like a lazy bum browsing Facebook before. And
I mean, of course.
I saw that there's going to be another AG Cup episode of Shooting USA on tomorrow on the Outdoor Channel. So I figured we'd give them a shout out.
I heard
No
that
kidding.
they took more of the footage. You know, when they did the first cut, it's only, 45 minutes, I think, 30 or 45 minutes. So there was only so much that they could pull out. And I think they had a ton of footage. So I believe this is like some additional footage that has been put into a show that they're gonna air. So that'll be cool. Are you gonna go to AG Cup this year, Nick?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
I think I'm going to be there. Obviously,
Yeah,
very much
we will
not
be
shooting.
there.
But
Yeah,
will be there
definitely.
also.
I will not be shooting that match, but I will be attending it and watching from a distance.
We can
will
hang out
be
and drink
there.
beer.
Yeah, we will be there
I'm up.
as media.
Nice. Yeah, I think that they're going to be doing things a little bit differently this year, so I'm excited to see how that goes. I will definitely be there. I have some team shooters that I believe plan to attend. So I definitely need to be there to root them on, and yeah, I'm excited. It was an interesting experience last year. It was a lot of fun. Of course, Mr. Swanee bringing those gigantic steaks with him made me very happy.
Oh.
And
Swanee.
Yeah.
I need a steak.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it.
I've never had one of your steaks, and I mean, I'm kind of hurt over that, but I need one.
He had, I don't even know how many he brought last year, but he brought tomahawk ribeyes and I think fillets, and
I've heard they're amazing. He's awesome.
Oh God. Yeah, and he has his, I think it's called zip sauce. He puts on all of his steaks.
Zip sauce.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I wish
he
was listening right now so he could correct me if I'm wrong, but that stuff is amazing.
So, hey, you mentioned you've got, your team shooters and stuff, and Jen just talked about how awesome Gina is. Jorge just posted, hey, he'll be at the MPA summer match this weekend. If you have any scope problems, no matter what brand, he'll have a Razor Gen 2 with an EBR 7C reticle you can borrow for the match.
Stellar dude. Love him. Yep. Thank you, Jorge.
Awesome, Jorge.
Then you got like Ryan Hay, who after I had my PST issues, finally said, you need to stop doing this and focus on shooting. And he kind of helped me out here a whole lot with an older scope of his that is amazing.
I'm very fortunate to have some folks that shoot for Vortex that are just amazing people. That's, I think, one of the most important things. You can have a great social media, but be one of those people that just in person, not relatable, people can't approach. But I think that everybody that we have that's shooting for Vortex, if you had an issue, whether it be a Vortex product or not, they're going to be that first person to jump up and say, hey, let me help you. What can I do? And, maybe
you have amazing shooters. Okay, yes, so one of the huge people that got me into this at all was Gina Milkovich. So there we go, right at the top, right? And then Ryan Hay, huge influencer in getting me into this, and Tim Milkovich, but also Tony Palskill, who I love dearly and has always been willing to help me when I'm like, I don't know what to do. You just come over here and put the bag here instead of there on the tire, and you just pull this up. And I'm like, you make it sound so easy. Thank you. So like all of your shooters are awesome, really.
Yeah.
They're just good people that are honestly willing to help new shooters, and it's amazing. So
well, those are the people that really I think stand out. Again, you can have an amazing social media presence, but you go to a match, who's that guy sitting on the tailgate of the truck offering advice to new shooters? That's who really stands out. That's the people that people remember. The people who help others get into the game, or like, Regina is a perfect example. She helped you get started. She's done that for so many people. Ryan Hayes done that for so many people. So
Had it not been
say,
for those two, I would not be shooting right now. I wouldn't have the stuff that I have and wouldn't be shooting. And like a social media presence, like you said, is amazing. But there are some people that have a social media presence and then I meet them in person and I'm like, wow, you're totally not helpful. Okay, I'm totally shocked.
An interesting person
I'm being very nice right now. But there are people that don't have a huge social media presence, like Tony Palskill. I mean, he's not he's on social media, but he's not huge. But every time I've ever been around Tony, he will come over there and help. He will stop whatever he's doing and come over there and help me. Like, hey, Jen, try this instead. It'll be better. And every time he says it, he's right. It's better. And he helps out the little people. And it's a huge influence. So
he actually just took somebody from Vortex to their first match this weekend. I was unable to attend the Missouri match, and he was still going. And so he took one of the guys in his department with him. And I'm pretty sure that guy's now hooked. So
that's awesome.
It's being able to help new shooters and really influence more people into the game is what it's about. And, I'm very fortunate. Vortex is very fortunate to have people represent them that do that better than anybody else. I got some guys that shoot for Vortex that don't even have a social media presence. They don't use it. But if you go to a match they shot and you ask anybody there, hey, name one person that shot, that everybody's going to know that person just because in some way or another they helped them out or influenced their day. And that commanding presence means so much. And in a fairly small community that we are, I mean, it's a growing community, but it's still not huge. So it's easy for somebody to know a third of the community if they're a big enough name. And being able to still get off your pedestal and help the little guy says a lot about someone's character.
Definitely does. And that's how you grow the sport. Honestly. So props to y'all for having really good shooters on there.
Yes, I agree. And thank you. If any of my shooters are on this right now listening, I know a few of you guys are. Thank you very much for all you do.
Yep, they are awesome. Hey, Chad Glasscock wants to know if you're going to be at the Gap Grind. You better be at the Gap Grind.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Oh. You suck, Nick. I used to like you.
I know. Another scheduling conflict, unfortunately.
If you want to send me like 48 scopes, I'll be your
I know that we're I'm not going to be present.
I'll do your due diligence, okay?
The Gap Grind is one that I really like to try to support a lot because I know that there are so many newer shooters there, people that are needing help in getting started. So I try to put more into that match than in a lot of your average matches. I think I've sent like 15 to 20, 50% off certificates, and I don't know how much optics I put on the table, but a lot. So there's going to be a lot of people there that needed to upgrade their equipment, whether it be something they pick up free off the table or get a extremely large discount on something. We'll be able to upgrade their equipment and get into the game a little bit easier.
Someone just reached out and said Jason Green is awesome also on
Jason
Team
Green is a
Vortex. And I haven't encountered Jason Green a lot, but I'm sure you're awesome. And the person that's saying you're awesome is pretty awesome. So I pretty much believe them. So good on you.
He's a hard human to beat. He's just a wonderful, down-to-earth guy.
And I think that's like what newer people appreciate, is having someone that's just approachable and can help. And I think it's awesome that you have just really good shooters. So
I can't say enough about the folks that shoot for Vortex. Every one of them do everything they can to help new shooters be a positive influence in the community. And again, that's the most important thing if you want to grow a sport.
It definitely is. It makes a huge difference for the new people coming in. I mean, it's great to have top shooters that are, winning all the trophies and all that, but if they're not relatable to the the little mere mortals, like I like to say.
Yeah, right.
I'm a mere mortal. You talk to the mere mortals,
Yeah.
it makes a big difference. So I think that's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. No doubt about it.
Awesome sauce. Well, yeah, I hate you're not going to be at the Gap Grind, but
I
it is
know.
fun.
I actually haven't been there yet. I've never been to the Gap Grind.
What?
I've never been there. No. I actually wanted to go. I think it was my first year doing precision rifle like sponsorship and stuff, and Regina wanted me to be your amateur, and I said I'm actually a pro level now. I mean, as far as how the stipulations are, I couldn't shoot as her am, so I got to skip over that, and now that I'm at what they would consider to be a pro level shooter, I don't think that I'm good enough.
Don't say it.
Shoot. Well, I don't I would love to be able to be helpful, but I don't think that I could be that person that an AM could turn to and I would be able to confidently convey, this is how you do this better, because my luck, I'd probably get the next Allison Zane to be my amateur and she would just kick my ass.
So I've had this exact same conversation with somebody else that is currently in our little 3-person group. That's actually how I got into actually competing. Jen and I shot 3-gun together for a long time, and it was like a week before registration for Gap Grind, and she comes to me and says exactly what you just said. I just found out I'm a pro and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'd do if my AM is a better shooter than me or blah blah blah. Will you be my AM? I'm like, sure. When we think about it, when's registration? She's like, it's Friday. I'm like, I'm going to be in the middle of a 1,000-mile off-road rally. Figured that would be a good enough excuse. She didn't take that as like, PayPal me the money. I'll register you.
Great. I was so scared to get somebody that expected a pro and got me.
So yeah. She ended up shooting not very good because her gun died, but she did a good job of just getting me through all the basics. And it's kind of a herd mentality. Yeah. So all of the pros in the squad were helping all of the other AMs in the squad. So you don't have to be able to support the person by yourself to do it, because all of the pros are there for pretty much one thing, and that is to help a new shooter through the sport. So if if you got 70% of the stuff, someone else will step in with the other 30%. And even I'm really not good at shooting. I'm really not good at shooting, but I was able to get through and coach an AM last year, and he definitely was shooting better by the end of the match than the beginning. So don't think that you can't do it.
I'm much better at teaching than I am at executing on my own.
Well, I know that me as a shooter, one of my biggest hurdles that I need to overcome it's right here. And I get in my own head too easily, and I want to be able to fix that part of my shooting before somebody else has to rely on me. So I get it. I know that a lot of people probably have the same thoughts as I do. I'm not good enough to be the pro in the pro-am, but I think it might be something I look at doing next year, because it would be fun. And I know that there's so many people there and a lot of new shooters, and if I can be a part of that, I think that's wonderful.
I will say it's kind of like becoming a parent. I didn't feel like I was ready to become a parent either, but then it forced me to grow up and do everything like I had to be a parent. Mm-hmm. And so being a pro, it kind of forces you oh gosh, I've got to get my crap together and tell this person what to do. And it kind of it helped me grow as a shooter, even by having to get my stuff together and be able to tell them what to do. So I don't know. It's a great experience either way. So
it really is. So first off, Gina said shenanigans, Nick would be a great pro. And she also
Thanks,
said, thank you, Vortex, so much for supporting the Southwest region club matches this season and last. And Jorge said him neither. It was supposed to be his first year at the Gap Grind, but the military is moving him in the middle of that.
Boo, Jorge, boo.
I know. Wish he could hang out with you. But it really is true. I run a NRL 22 series here because I wanted to shoot it, and then all of a sudden I became the person running it. But I learn a lot about shooting by sitting there and helping out new shooters. And, I say it and then I'm like, oh no, this is what you're doing wrong. And then I'm like, oh shit, I didn't do that on the last stage either.
Right.
I should look at myself. And even it's funny. I started out at the Gap Grind, then went straight into the Pro Series. And I shot my first regional match a couple weeks ago. And there was several brand spanking new shooters on the squad. So I spent a lot of my time, watching them shoot, critiquing them. They'd come off a stage. I'm like, hold on, stay there, make clear, but stay there and, stand like this. Is that target a lot easier to see? And they're like, oh my God, yeah. There's little things that you could do to help a new shooter go from, brand new to having a slight idea about what to do.
Well, and part of my job at Vortex is I do some training, and I do think that I'm the perfect example of somebody who does not do what they preach as well as they should.
Me too.
A perfect example of that is at the Barrel Maker. It was Scott Peterson. I don't know if you don't know who Scott is, but he's with the AMU and a good friend of mine, and he was in the squad ahead of me. And, I think he could tell that I was not feeling happy about my performance as well as I thought I was going to be doing. And, he offered some advice, and I said, he said, one thing I watched you do on the PRS barricade, I noticed that you weren't squaring yourself up to the target. And I was thinking in my head, what do you mean I'm not? I preach that to people all the time. Square your shoulders to the target, absorb that recoil better, transition faster. And he said, no, you had your shoulders canted away from the target. And I'm thinking, well, why in the hell wasn't I squared up? But it's one of those things where I think I get in the heat of the moment and I just forget all the things that I know. So that's a big thing I just got to work on. And I think that's mostly training. I've been starting to do the filming yourself while you shoot, so you can come back and look at yourself and see what you're doing differently. But
it's hard to execute everything. I mean, there's a lot of things that I know and I can teach to someone else, but I don't always practice what I preach.
Yeah, that's the hard part is, teaching yourself. You might know the answer to the question, but when the test comes, are you going to say
amazingly, you actually have to do what you say,
right,
in order for it to come out better.
Yeah.
But anyway. So yeah, it's funny. So you should totally come to Gap Grind, and you should totally be a pro because it's amazing and it's fun and it gets new people into the sport. But we'll forgive you for not being able to be there, I suppose.
Well, I can't do it this year, but I will make a plan to do it
to
next.
the price table.
Yes, I will make a plan to do it next year.
So my little brother volunteered to be your AM for next year. He shot his first precision match at my little NRL 22 match last weekend. And he said he'll be your AM.
Hell yeah, I'll take him up on it too. By the time next year gets around, he'll probably be a pro.
You never know how that goes.
It happens.
All right. So I think, do we have any more live, Greg?
Give me 1 second. I've got to reload, refresh, and all that stuff to see.
I'm going to let him reload and refresh and see if we have any live. And if not, we'll wind down to shout outs. I did learn how to say Wisconsin when I was
Wisconsin.
It's like you got to think about like scone, like Wisconsin, not like Wisconsin. No, it's Wisconsin. It's like all one.
Really? I've never heard it that way.
They all made fun of me about how I said everything. Although I made fun of y'all for saying like rough instead of roof and rut instead of root and crick instead of creek, but whatever.
Man, it must be in the area that we were in, because those are definitely not how I say those words.
No one says those words like that except them. And they were like acting like I was crazy because my southern self says root and roof and creek.
That is definitely I do how too. You say those words.
That is definitely the correct way.
We have had multiple FaceTime arguments with my children telling them how to say things. Anyway, it's pretty funny.
Nice.
Greg, do we have anything on
No,
the live.
The only other one is my brother saying that he's borrowing my spare rifle to be your am. Apparently, he's
That's fantastic. Well, you get me in touch with your brother after this, and I'll take him up on it for next year.
There we go. We got it. All right. Well, let's wind down then to shout outs. Greg, do you have your shout outs?
I do. GSL suppressors. At some point in time, there's going to be one of them sitting there, and one of them on there. That definitely needs one. That's a little bit stubby there. But they're currently at Crack Shop Pawn and Firearms, waiting on the ATF to grant my privileges for my muffler. Shooters and sharpshooters of Augusta, our two local ranges, indoor and outdoor. PDC Custom for a beautiful lime green rifle chassis, available in centerfire or rimfire.
God bless. They do have normal colors, don't they?
They do. They have like boring, lame colors like black or tan or gray. Actually, the grays are really pretty color, but nothing is like the lime green. Ooh, they have orange as well. NDZ Performance to build a really sweet Gucci Glock. Shooter's World Propellant. People are still talking about this powder shortage. I still get all the powder I want. I actually purchased it there at Shooters of Augusta. Hunter's HD Gold. It's kind of like, when you take your eyes and then the HD Gold and then the Vortex glass, you could see everything. Great combination there. Available in prescription, both single prescription and bifocals. Vortex. Why did you say shut up when I said bifocals, Jennifer?
No reason.
Okay, just wondering. And Vortex to keep your dirty rifle clean.
Nick, you got any shout outs for us?
I actually hadn't planned any, but I do want to thank both of you for having me on. I watch yours all the time, and I'm really excited to be here. And also want to thank all my team shooters for being the great people that they are and helping grow our community.
You do have a great team. I love all of your shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any of them that I don't love. They're all awesome people. So good on you for having good people on there for real. All right. So for me, I have Macmillan stocks for amazing, beautiful. See that beautiful blue? It's gorgeous stock.
That is a pretty stock.
GSL suppressors. It's in the safe because I just flew and didn't have it on there. And HD Gold because I may or may not need bifocals. Vortex for cleaning my awesome gun. Shooters of Augusta and Sharpshooters of Augusta. Warren scope mounts and bipods because that's a pretty amazing bipod that I love.
Oh,
yeah. They have great stuff. Skyline mounts and bipods, so check them out. And yeah, I think that's going to be all for tonight. So just want to thank Nick for coming on for 2 hours with us and killing some time tonight, and wrap up and thank everybody for being here for Shooter's Mindset, episode 306, and that's a wrap.